For many people, food is as simple as grabbing a snack after school or eating before a soccer game. But for me, it has taken over my whole mind. I dance, I sleep, I study, I walk my dog. But what am I really thinking about? Food. My introduction to body image wasn't gentle. It was completely abrupt and uninvited. It all began with comments about my weight from my relatives, the people who I loved the most, the ones who I trusted, the ones who I never thought would hurt me. It all traces back to when 6-year-old and I constantly heard she was too chubby, while uncles and aunts tightly squeezed her cheeks. At that time, I didn't think much of it. But little did I know that these comments, once my relatives thought were harmless, would one day severely impact my health and shatter my self-confidence into pieces. Family gatherings used to be nights I looked forward to the most, but then suddenly, I began dreading them. I vividly remember going to family dinners, and instead of getting warm greetings, hearing, "Wow, Anaya, you've gained weight. What have you been eating recently?" In my head, I would scream to myself, aren't adults supposed to be wise and know better than to comment on a teenage girl's body? I had put on a mask. I was quiet on the outside. I had shrunk my voice. I would be fighting the urge to not vomit up all my bottled up thoughts. I severely regret not speaking out and telling others that, hey, I am struggling, and your comments are doing nothing but killing me from the inside. As I grew older and got exposed to social media, I started feeling that if I don't look a certain way or match the beauty standards that I saw online, then people wouldn't like me or would think of me differently. And as my fears grew, so did my awareness of how deeply body image pressures affect young people without us even realizing it. That's when I started feeling an overwhelming need to fix myself. As my insecurities grew, the eating disorder began taking over parts of my life I didn't even recognize at first. I started leaning towards baggy clothing, not because it was my style, but because it felt safe. Oversized hoodies, loose sweatpants, honestly anything that could hide the parts of me I thought people were judging. Baggy clothing had become my armor. Something I relied on to shield myself from the constant pressure I felt to look a certain way. That's when the eating disorder began taking over. When my parents would ask, "Anaya, have you eaten yet? Or what did you eat for dinner?" I would lie. I felt guilty each time, but I just couldn't help it. I felt like I was trapped in this ongoing cycle I just couldn't escape. 3 years had gone by, and nothing had changed. Each day revolved around food. The first thought that would come into my head each morning when I woke up would be, what am I going to eat today? I felt shame for feeling this way, confusion because I didn't know how to stop, and denial because I didn't want to admit something was wrong. I would cry at night because I didn't know how or what to eat anymore without feeling guilty. I vividly remember one day in math class when I was taking my midterm. Despite me have gotten a complete 8 hours of sleep, I could barely stay awake. My eyelids kept on shutting, my pencil shook in my hand, and I swayed side to side in my chair as the creaking noise distracted the people around me. That evening, I went home and I looked at myself in the mirror, but I just couldn't recognize the girl staring back at me. Not just physically, but emotionally. I looked tired, drained, and lost. That's when I realized that this wasn't just dieting anymore. I was slowly tearing up my insides. So I finally spoke up. I told my parents the truth, and instead of anger, they gave me understanding. With their support and professional help, I was able to take my first step towards recovery. It felt terrifying, but also relieving. For the first time, I wasn't fighting alone. When I first began attending weekly consultations with my doctor, it was physically hard for me to tell the truth. It felt like uncorking a bottle of thoughts, and a mask put on for so long felt like it was a part of me. Taking off that mask felt like peeling off my skin. But my doctor began breaking down food for me, making me realize that it wasn't my biggest enemy. She would take a simple food like a burger and explain how each part had a purpose, how the bun helped my body move and brain focus, how the proteins helped strengthen my muscles, and how the fats helped support body function. She made me realize that food wasn't just numbers or something to fear. It was strength. It was fuel. It's what allowed me to wake up in the morning, hang out with my friends, and continue doing the things I love. It took time, but eventually, I realized that professionals weren't there to judge me. They were there to support me, and that I shouldn't shy away from expressing how I truly feel or where I'm struggling, because honesty was the first step towards recovery. Now, recovery wasn't a straight line. It began with small, uncomfortable steps, learning how to eat regular meals again, attending weekly consultations with my doctor, and talking through the thoughts that had once controlled me for so long. There was relapses. There was shame, but there was also victories. Eating without guilt, wearing fitted clothing. Journaling helped me entangle my thoughts. And spending time with loved ones made me realize that life is bigger than the way I look. Today, I'm not perfectly recovered, but I'm learning. I have a healthier mindset, a healthier relationship with food, and for the first time in a very long time, I feel like me again. Right, my story is personal and unique, but I'm not alone. In Canada, an estimated 1.7 million people suffer from an eating disorder. Eating disorders can be invisible. They can slowly sneak up on you and try to take over your whole life. But what I learned through all of this is that recovery isn't an individual process. It's shaped by the world around us, the support we receive, and the spaces where we feel safe enough to be honest. So to every kid, teen, or anyone struggling right now, you are not alone. You deserve help, you deserve peace, and you deserve to feel happy in your own skin again. So if any part of my story sounds familiar, I want you to reach out, whether it be a family member, a friend, or even a teacher. Recovery isn't easy, but it is worth it. I want you to know that you are worth it. Your body and your brain aren't your biggest enemies, and you're worth so much more than those thoughts that try to control you. Even in the darkest moments, there's a spark inside of you that's waiting to shine. Once you start healing, that spark is given the room to shine brighter than you could have ever imagined. Thank you.